Alright. I'm Mason the Brock Henderson. This is Gotham. Season 2, Episode 17, Into the Woods. Wow, this was good. Man, this show does such a good job of just having moments out of nowhere that just make you go, holy crap. This one had one of those moments. It has to be. Where are Sasha and Charles? It's like, you said they tasted the same. No, I think Sasha tastes a little bit. I'm like, oh my god, are you freaking kidding me? He cooked up the kids. He's the devil. Whew. It was crazy. I knew this was coming just because obviously he does become the Penguin, but I did not expect it to be this way. I thought it was going to be them terrorizing Oswald so much that he just lost it again. But as it turns out, he finds out that they killed his father, so he returns the favor. So now the Penguin is back. But that was not the only interesting part of this episode. You know, that was building up. You could kind of see where it was going. That ending was crazy, but the main story going on was so much fun. You've got Jim gets Bullock's help, trying to figure out who framed him. Bullock ends up getting this information that Internal Affairs tapes these calls that come in about who makes the calls. They tape it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, they tape all the calls, and so they know that they've taped the anonymous tipster who saw Jim killing Gallivant. So Bullock uses his connections, his very, very emotional connections. Just kidding, there's nothing emotional in that. He's just banging the woman. Anyway, but he uses those connections with one of the IA ladies. Gets Jim the keys to break in. Jim breaks in, gets the tape. I like the moment where he stops the robbery happening. It kind of seems like a moment just sort of thrown in just to cause a bit more drama, but I think it really does speak to the character of Jim. That he is so, that's just his mindset. He sees this robbery happening, this lady's getting robbed by these two muggers, and he has to step in. It's a moment that almost gets him caught by the police, but it doesn't matter because that's just who Jim is. So I really did like that scene, even though it did seem kind of out of nowhere. But he ends up escaping, gets back to Bullock. He says that he has a connection that he can use to find out what's on the tape, goes to Nigma's house. Nigma is like, you can see his mind working. It's like, does Jim know? Does he not know? Is he just toying with me? Because he thinks Jim is like got this all figured out, and that's why he's come to talk to him, because he thinks Jim knows everything, which of course Jim doesn't. He knows something's up. He knows he's been framed. He knows whoever's working, whoever did this is very intelligent and works in the police department, but he doesn't know it's Nigma. And so Nigma's just like, it's almost like he's kind of questioning, does he know? And so he just keeps saying all this stuff that he shouldn't be saying. And ultimately it leads to Jim finding out. But then Nigma has a plan because he's like, I knew you knew. And that's why your chair's rigged up to the main line. And the chair like shocks Jim and knocks him out. And I'm just like, this is the Riddler. This is a brilliant portrayal of the Riddler. Like, just everything he says. You can see the moments of frustration where he feels like he's being beaten, but then you can see the moments of joy when he realizes that he's won. Whenever Jim sits down in the chair, you can see that look on his face. He's just smiling because he knows that he's about to beat Jim. But then Jim ends up escaping, gets shot in the leg though by Nigma. Nigma thinks, once again, getting very overconfident, which is what the Riddler does, starts just blurting out everything. He's like, bet you're wondering why. Well, here's a hint. KK. And Jim's like, Kristen Kringle? So it's like, that's one of the things that the Riddler always messes up his plans later on against Batman is that he gets so overconfident in his elaborate traps and his elaborate riddles that he ends up giving some sort of hint that ends up, allowing Batman to figure it out. This is exactly what I want to see. I want to see him getting so confident that he's got Jim trapped. He's following the blood trail, he's got the gun, that he just starts revealing all this information that ultimately helps Jim figure out what his next move is, finding out where Kristen's body is buried. And so he sends in Selina thinking, okay, so Selina's going to collect the reward and she has information. Feeds this information to Nigma, who then goes to dig up the body. Jim shows up with everybody. I wonder if he talked to Barnes and convinced him to come out, or if he talked to Bullock, who then talked to Barnes, who told him, hey, I know where Jim is, let's go find him. And then they show up right at the last minute as Nigma's confessing to everything. I wish they would have shown how that went down, but it's okay that they didn't. But I mean, it was such a good episode because it showed the Riddler. It showed what I want to see out of the Riddler. He's such a good. It's just like how the Penguin is such a good Penguin, and he's such a good character too. The Riddler is such a good portrayal of the Riddler. It's exactly what I want to see. He's slowly becoming this character that we know. So yeah, it's very, very good. Very good episode. And on top of that, it ends in a very interesting way as well. You've got kind of, everybody getting back to sort of a bit more normal. Bruce is now off the streets. Talk about those scenes with Selina really fast. That opening scene was kind of fun. Just to see them working together, see Bruce sort of growing as, he's growing from a boy into a man. And so to see him, having been on the streets for a little bit, now he's really developed a relationship with Selina. Now they're working together. And ultimately, he's still Bruce Wayne. He takes this money from this criminal who's been stealing it from other people and then tosses it all onto the street. Which Selina's, of course, like, what are you doing? That's a ton of money. And he's just like, I don't need it. She's like, you threw away your half. He's like, I kept enough for burgers. Just like, that's so good. They have such good chemistry. I know this. It ends with Bruce talking to Alfred about. Alfred tells him that Lucius Fox fixed his father's computer. Ultimately, that ends up bringing him back because he does want to find out what happened with his dad. He wants to find out more about what his parents were doing. But that ends up meaning he has to cut ties with Selina, which upsets her. I hope this isn't the last we see of them together. I doubt it will be, but it does kind of seem like Selina wants to be done with Bruce after this. I really hope that's not the case because they really do have good chemistry together, and I want to see more of that. But like I said, it's a bit more normal. It's returning to a bit more normal. Selina's on her own again. Bruce is back with Alfred in his mansion, figuring out about his parents and stuff. Jim still not back on the force yet because he wants to find out what happened with Bruce's parents. He wants to solve their murder. Already know who the killer is, but don't know who contracted him. Don't know who hired him. Which they kind of revealed it in the previews for next week. He said the man contracted was called the Philosopher. I don't know. It's like, really, you just spoiled that? Really? Of course, I don't know who the Philosopher is. Maybe it's nobody that we know yet. I don't know. But he ends up doing the cliche thing of Barnes gives him Lee's number and says, call her. He calls her, she says hello, and he hangs up. And I'm just like, you idiot. And then he does the other cliche thing of somebody knocks on the door, and in Gotham, for some reason, and in a lot of shows where, I don't know, like, does nobody check the peephole anymore? At all? Like, if somebody knocked on my door, I mean, there's not a peephole, it's a lot of windows, so I could see who it is, but does nobody check to see who it is anymore? Especially in Gotham? Like, you just got out of prison, you just proved that you were innocent, which means a lot of people, there are cops that are probably upset with you because of what you've done, even if you have proved you're innocent. You're not going to look through the people, see who it is. No, just unlock the door, open it up, and then there's Barbara. I'm like, oh crap. Yeah. It does bring to mind, though, the fact that I didn't talk about Barbara waking up. I think it was 2 episodes ago. I like the fact that they're bringing her back in, just because I was starting to enjoy her character a bit more. Like, she was given a character in this season. I think I talked about that in the first half. Whereas in the first season, she was mainly just like a mindless drone, just doing. It felt like somebody was pulling her strings throughout the entire season. Like, okay, now go here, now go here, now be a terrible girlfriend, now be a horrible girlfriend, now be a horrible person. It felt like she had no character in the first season. Second season, her character did grow. And so I was disappointed to see her gone, but it did feel like it was a good moment in the story for her to kind of duck out and end up in a coma. So to have her back kind of feels like they've solved the Riddler's case now. Time for another wrench to be thrown into the machine, and this is it. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to go on with her. Even what's his face, Doctor Strange. Even he's like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm curious to see what she's going to do as well. So it's kind of like he's just throwing her out there as an experiment in his mind. Like, he wants to see what she's going to do because of the interviews he's had with her. He thinks that she's not faking it. And so he is curious to see what she's going to do next. So that feels like it's going to be an interesting storyline. Hopefully they keep the character that she had at the beginning of the season, that kind of Joker-esque feel. Like how it's the Joker and the Batman, and there's like this connection that the Joker feels to Batman, and so he's just constantly torturing him and is really focused in on torturing him and the people he loves. That's the sort of feel that Barbara had with Jim. She's so focused on him and like torturing him and going after Lee to try to hurt him that it felt very similar to that other relationship. So I want to see more of that. I'm excited to see that more. I think that's about it. But very, very, very good episode. I'm excited to see where next episode goes. Like I said, from the previews, they do reveal that Jim finds out who contracted. Either that or that was the name of the guy who was contracted. I don't know. But it feels like that's kind of going to be the storyline. While Jim is dealing with Barbara, he's also going to be looking into Bruce's parents' murders, and obviously Oswald's going to be. I don't know what's going to happen with him now that he's killed his dad's family. That'll be kind of interesting to see where it goes from there. But a lot of interesting storylines building up. I'm very curious to see where it goes. Very excited to see where it goes to. Yeah, they're setting up a lot of great stuff. Oh yeah, it also showed Gallivant like waking up from the dead, and then Mr. Freeze is in a suit and tossing a frozen grenade. I'm excited to see more of Mr. Freeze. That's exciting to see. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? Do you think it's one of the best, just like I do? What are you excited to see next? Leave a like and subscribe for more Gotham, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.